All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, I was not quite expecting it to be so obvious how much of a deleterious effect Carmelo Anthony was going to have on the Houston Rockets defense. But then again, I probably should have expected it, because it's going to take them a while to figure out how to compensate for how bad on defense he himself is going to be. I think that people talk about how bad Carmelo is on defense, and they're not quite sure how bad it is until he's actually one of their teammates. And then you see how he plays defense. Stiff-kneed, standing up, looking around, not quite sure who he should guard, sitting in the paint like a deer in headlights as players run by him like cars on the I-95. Let me say this. Carmelo Anthony plays the worst defense of any basketball player, at least prominent basketball player, that I've ever seen. And I promise you that by November, they're going to be pointing fingers at Carmelo Anthony, because the man makes James Harden look like Scottie Pippen. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
I have okay pickup highlights, but I have good highlights in other sports, but not basketball.
That's good. You might, maybe in those pickup games, have played more defense than the Rockets played last night, because let's get to the tape. One of the top defenses in the league last season.
The Pelicans are going to be a little bit of a problem this year, especially if they play as well together as I saw last night. Elfrid Payton is a great pickup for them. He's a pretty good replacement, at least in regards to approximating what Rondo brought to them, because he plays in a very similar style. And we all know what Drew Holiday brings. He's a great combo guard who can give you 25 or 35 if you need it. He can give you 15 assists if you need it. And he's going to play great defense. So this could put a bit of a monkey wrench, or this could throw a bit of a monkey wrench into the narrative that I've been putting out, that before the All-Star break or before the trading deadline, the Lakers and or the Boston Celtics are going to have a real shot at Anthony Davis. But I'm not going to quite abandon it quite yet. I'm going to wait to see exactly how well the Pelicans play. But if last night, if game one of the regular season is any indicator, they're going to be pretty good.
They were exposed last night, people. They gave up 131 points to the Pelicans. That is more than they gave up in any regulation game last season. Take a look at this graphic when Chris Paul, James Harden, and Melo were on the court together.
Well, this is what happens when the only player on the floor who plays defense is P.J. Tucker. Now, Chris Paul still tries to play defense, but you have to understand he's going on 34 years old. He's just not going to be able to run up and down all night and then guard the opposing team's best guard like he tried to back in the day. Now, look at this stat. With Harden, Paul, and Anthony on the court, 9 minutes on Wednesday, the Pelicans scored 35 points and shot 13 of 17 from the field and had a 10-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. Wow. What that spells out is that they were getting a whole bunch of layups. A whole bunch of layups. And in no time were they pressured by the Rockets defense to move the basketball. When you see that high of an assist-to-turnover ratio, that's a guy bringing the ball up, maybe making one pass to a cutter, or even beating his man off the dribble straight to the cup. That's what that means. So, Carmelo Anthony, he certainly brought his brand of defense to the Houston Rockets.
The Rockets allowed the Pelicans to shoot.
Oh, my.
I'm gonna pause and just say 76% from the field. They were outscored by 15.
It's pretty simple, though.
That's messed up. Y'all gonna put Melo in on that, man. He didn't even play that much.
That's the point. He didn't play that much, but when he was out there, there was no defense being played, Chauncey Billups. Now, I know that you played with him in Denver. As a matter of fact, you were his teammate. You were the captain of the team at the only time that his team was successful. I get it. That's your homeboy. But the man is terrible on defense.
I'm just saying.
Oh, man, y'all wrong, man.
Here's the problem that I had last night, right? And I was sitting there watching the game, and I would say, just go pick and roll. Go pick and roll with Randall. Go pick and roll with AD, because they're switching everything. And all you have to do, run a pick and roll. Those guys run to the block, and it's barbecue chicken, as Shaq say. You cannot guard these guys. They're too big, they're too strong, and they're skilled.
Look at that. They got Chris Paul guarding Anthony Davis. What kind of bullshit is this?
Down there. And that's all they were doing. They had...
People forget New Orleans was one of the few teams that was able to defeat a fully healthy Houston Rockets team last season during the regular season. The fully healthy Rockets team, I think that they had lost maybe 3 or 4 games all season last year when they were fully healthy. And one of the games that they did lose was against New Orleans. I believe that's the game that Boogie Cousins went down.
70-something points, 80-something points between their front court.
Yeah.
This was unbelievable performance by these guys last night. And if the Rockets going to switch everything, they got to do something about that because they got tortured last night.
That's how they played last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the exact same defense they played last year.
But
this
with
happens to be
personnel.
with some different personnel for
And a
sure.
different
Ariza and Bamute, Nene was out.
Right.
Different. All that is true. All that is
that
true.
side of the ball.
But that Pelicans team is uniquely equipped to
They really are.
barbecue chicken.
Yes.
Those
Absolutely. As I already stated, they had some success against the Rockets last season. And I think just looking at their lineup and just looking at their personnel, the Pelicans may be better this year than they were last year. Pelicans may be a 50-win team this year.
those little guys in the post with those two big guys.
Yeah.
What can be done, though, and when you look at who they have now on there, I mean, look, you do with what you have now, right?
Wow.
So,
Wow, look at this. They had 3 players in their front court score 25 points or more. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that's ugly.
this is
Wow.
That won't happen again this year.
What, for them or
This
for
right
the,
here, these numbers won't happen again this year in one game. I'll bet T-Mac that right
I guarantee you it will.
now. Yep.
Yeah, I guarantee you it will too. They have a great front court. I guarantee you there's going to be another game where all 3 of those guys score 25 points or more.
That won't happen
If
again.
they switch,
30 and 10
yes.
from Mirotic.
Mirotic was just knocking down wide open shots.
Mac, I guarantee that won't happen again this year.
why do you think it
We'll
won't
bet
happen
at
again?
dinner.
Why?
They just had a great game. They had a great game.
They-
Chauncey Billups, bro, you sound like a fanboy right now. You're not making any real points. You sound like one of these dudes who gets mad at me in the comments when I say something about Melo. Now, normally you have something substantive to say, but the segment has been going on now for about 3 minutes in real time, and you have not made any real points. All you've done is get upset that they put up a graphic showing how poor the defense was with Carmelo Anthony on the floor. And now you're talking about how a team that has a very talented front court is not going to have another game where all 3 players score at least 25 points. I doubt that. I very much doubt that. When you look back in the history of the NBA and you've had great front courts, it was nothing for them to have a successful night where all 3 members of the front court played very well. I'm not trying to compare them to the Boston Celtics front court of the mid-'80s, but it was very common for Bird, McHale, and Parrish to have games where they all went over 18 to 20 points in a game, on average. So do I think that there's going to be another game this season where all 3 of those players score 25 points or more? Yes, I do.
You think they're capable of doing that?
No, he is.
Julius Randle is not capable of 25.
He can get you
can't
that.
score. He can't score in the
They won't do that all together in one game again this year.
If you switch small guys on them, you trying to tell me Julius Randle can't score?
Yeah, he can score.
That's
he
why
gonna have
he
some
had
big nights.
those numbers.
He will have some big nights, but all 3 of them in one game, that won't happen again.
I was texting with Alvin Gentry after the game, and he said they are not going to go small this year. He's like, I don't care who people play against us.
And that's smart. For once, finally, some of these NBA coaches are starting to figure out, you know what, let's do what we do best as opposed to everybody trying to play like the Golden State Warriors. Once again, back when I was a kid, teams went with their strength. They didn't try to just do what the best team did. Now, of course, it's a copycat league, so you try to incorporate elements of what the great teams do. But now all these teams, they want to play the same. That's why it's so easy for the Warriors, because none of these teams are using their personnel properly. So if Alvin Gentry is going to stick to what he's stating, that they're going to be big, that they're going to take advantage of their front court and the skilled big men that they have who can dribble, pass, and shoot and rebound, that's smart on his behalf. Because I'll say this, their backcourt is not explosive. Now, what's probably not going to happen this season is that there'll probably never be a game where Elfrid Payton and Jrue Holiday both score 25 points or more. But I guarantee you there's going to be some games where Anthony Davis and the other 2 members of that front court get at least 20 or more altogether. I promise you that, where they each score 20 points or more. And I'm sure that there's going to be a couple of games where they all score 25 points or more because they're that talented.
We're our team. We're just.
He can. He has to sit too many good.
And that's what I wanted to mention also. I didn't know that you could run around out there with a Karate Kid headscarf on like Jrue Holiday had on. I'm surprised that they let that go. Because one would think that there would be a danger of him whipping his head a certain direction and hitting somebody in the eye with that Karate Kid shit he had on his head.
Good players if they go
say
small.
it's not a bold declaration.
That's right.
But
That's
three
okay.
of your 4 best players are big men, so
Well,
you probably shouldn't go small.
Look, I really like this Pelicans team. I didn't know what they had until I watched these guys last night.
Yeah, I knew what they had, but I wasn't quite sure how well they were going to all fit together.
Alfred Payton, man.
Oh, I'm happy for
Oh,
him,
man. I mean, I saw him in Orlando, and I knew he could play, but this is a tailor-made team for him.
It really is. That's why I state he can approximate what Rondo does.
Yeah,
where he can show his
Y'all were
ability.
talking last night at halftime about the haircut. I don't think that's a joke.
No,
I
it's
think
not
the
a
fact
joke.
that he cut his hair is a big deal.
It is a big deal because he had
He
a
can see the
permanent,
floor now.
he had a permanent hand contested in his shot.
Yeah, it's like he's playing with a hat on.
People in the league and on his team don't think that's a joke. They think that like actually it might be a real thing that the hair was distracting him.
He's a good player. You know, that's the crazy thing about it is I said that they were really, really, really going to miss Rondo, and I still think that they will.
Yeah.
But he's gonna do a fantastic job.
He is.
With this team. They get up and down. He makes every play. I mean, I'm happy to see him. Happy to see him in this position.
As awesome as their front line is, every combination of those three big guys works well in different ways.
Yes.
Right.
What's going to determine whether they're a borderline 6, 7, 8, 9 team or
This is what I
something
was about to
more
ask.
is the guards. It's the guards, and it's Peyton and it's Etwan Moore putting up 21. It's can you get anything out of Darius Miller and Solomon Hill? Those are the guys.
Right, but really Drew Holiday has to stay healthy. If Drew Holiday can give you a consistent 18 to 20 a game, maybe 17 to 20 a game, play his normal top-notch defense, shoot in the high 40 percentile from the field, somewhere in the mid-80s from the line, they'll be fine.
Are the guys that are going to determine how good this team is.
I mean, look, I know how stacked the West is, so there's a reason for this, but when you see people do their preseason predictions and
New Orleans is going to be a problem, though. They really surprised me. They're going to be a problem.
sort of say this is what we see the playoffs, picture in the West, I've seen people put the Pelicans as high as 3 or 4, and then I've seen people put them out of the playoffs. And that seems like a crazy range to me.
No, I think that the odd man out this season is going to be Portland, either Portland or Minnesota. One of those two teams will not make the playoffs this year.
But
I mean, that's what it was last year.
Yeah,
Portland was the.
Watch out for Phoenix, too. Phoenix is going to take some wins away from some of these other teams. They're going to be a problem also. Because in Devin Booker, they have one of the top guards in the NBA, and I think that Aiden is going to help them on offense and defense.
The third,
It's like a
Portland
third
was
seed,
third.
and then the
A lot of
yeah.
teams going to be like that.
I'll tell you what, if they're 3 or 4, you can book AD for the MVP.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I've been saying that already. I think that Anthony Davis is going to put up big numbers, but if they can win 50 games or more, which would probably put them somewhere around 3rd or 4th in the West, he's going to get that MVP, especially if he can play 75 games or more.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
They're 3 or 4, you can book them.
Well, here's the thing. He spent the entire preseason saying, I am the best player in the NBA. And look, you can point to
last
guys
night.
who have won championships, and obviously that puts them in a different category. He came out and backed up. You can't win the NBA
Look.
Finals last night, so he came out to the extent he could and backed up his words.
He backed me up yesterday when we had the debate between
Yes.
him and James Harden.
Absolutely.
What he did last night.
Yep.
Just proved my point.
Absolutely. Let's go over to the Jazz.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see what happens with the Houston Rockets' leaky defense and how long it takes the Houston Rockets fans to start blaming Carmelo Anthony. And in regards to the New Orleans Pelicans, as I've stated, they surprised me last night. They have a lot on that team. So peace.